Hey guys, this is Chodaros, and thank you for joining me for another tutorial. This design is brought to us by MsLoom, and it is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, excuse me, 5 patterns is what it takes to go around a smaller yet normal sized wrist, and it just consists of a nice perimeter and 2 starbursts within each pattern, an X design through it and in between, and an 8mm, 6mm size bead will do just fine. Obviously bling is optional. And here is the back, which isn't too bad. It just shows your pattern. Okay, so we will get our supplies and let's get started. One thing I would like to mention, through the tutorial, when we get to the point of we have placed our starbursts, I do accidentally tell you, or I misplace my cap bands. If you can, just do not place the cap bands until we are finished putting all bands on the bracelet. It is very much appreciated if you can hang on to that bit of advice. As I said earlier, it was a mishap on my part and I do apologize, but I did want to mention it now to catch it before we move on. Okay, so I'm going to lay the glitter gray, or yeah, I think that's what it is. I'm going to use this for my perimeter. So it is 3 out to the edge, and then up 1, and the only time we're going to do 3 out is to open the bracelet and close the bracelet. So from here on out, every pattern repeat will only have 2 going in. Okay, so that is technically 1 pattern, and then we want to take it up 1 and start 2 out to the edge. And then again 1 up on both ends. And then 2 in, and that concludes our second pattern repeat. So then we go up 1 and repeat again. So it's 2 to the edge, 1 up, 2 to the center, and then 1 up. So you could do one whole complete side and come back down and do the other side, or you can do them together. So again, we're going to lay 5. That is suggested by MsLoom. Move you down. In my opinion, and I'm not that big of a person, but MsLoom's bracelets are just a tad too small for me. But in this pattern, because one pattern is so big compared to, you know, adding another row to a bracelet, I'm going to stick with the 5, and then if need be, I'd rather just add a little single chain to close it. Whoopsie, what did I do wrong? I put 2. See, don't talk. sorry. Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and we just have one more to lay, and that will put us exactly where our closing is going to be. So since I've kind of completed it with you, I won't have to worry about telling you where to stop. But if you chose to pause or fast forward, it is 6 pins down from the 3rd pin bar. Did I do it again? My gosh, seriously, Christy, do not talk. I mean, Chodaros. It doesn't matter anyway. Facebook ratted me out. Yeah, they caught me. That's not your real name, Chodaros Bling. I'm like, man. Whoopsie. Okay, if we're just doing, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then to close it, instead of going 2 straight, we're just going to take it one more in to that center. Sorry about that. All right, so that's what your loom should look like. So then our next step is going to be to place, they're X's, but we have little X's that are going to go in between. So I'm going to use these burgundy sweets for those. So I have one going that way, just going to do it clockwise. Oops. So that is going to be what kind of makes our bracelet click together. Just join together by these from the left to the right. So it's not a, you can tell if it's only being captured between left and right by these 4 bands, it's not that tight of a bracelet. All right, so then that equals 4 because we have 5 patterns. So then our next band to place, which I'm going to use the metallic silver or metallic whatever, is X's. So this is our center of our pattern. And for these X bands, we want to place them from the outside down to the center. Okay? Typically, we always place our bands going from the center out, but in this case, we want to place it from the outside to the center. Okay? And now when we're going from the center up, we need to be placing them from the center going forward. So we're not going to start here. We're going to go from the center to the next peg and then like that to the center of that X. So that way what we're going to do is we're going to loom, this all becomes like a single chain. And so that way when we go to loom it, it's in the proper order. So it's kind of only the, I'm going to say the outside bands or the bands that are connecting, we place them the right way. So again, we start in the center and go forward and then our next one meets the X. Okay, so that's what we should have so far. That is one pattern, and then our starbursts are going to go in the center, so I can go ahead and do those, and then we can kind of just finish it up and then loom it. That's it. There's only a couple steps. So these are just little starbursts, and we're going in clockwise manner, just placing the bands on every peg around it, which is 6. And then come over to this side. I like to always start on the same. I can't do the opposite. And then we do want to place a cap band in the center, oops, of each star. So I'm going to place mine. You want to make sure it's pressed down. And that's it. We continue that all the way up our loom, but as mentioned, please make sure that you place those large X bands correctly. Again, it's from the outside in, except for the connecting that goes straight up and down. If I am not mistaken, we just have 2 more steps, and then we will be able to start looping. Okay, so let's finish this up, and then we will meet back here for our next. Okay, so we have 2 simple steps left, and that would be, we're going to place a single chain down the center with clear bands. Just going to go ahead and finish mine up with you. And then comes our bling. So make sure you have your bling bands ready. And our bling bands are going to go from the center of one starburst to the other. So it doesn't matter, like mine is a one-sided charm or bead. It doesn't matter if I place it up or down, because when I'm done with the bracelet, I can either punch it through or keep it up, which typically it's the bottom of the bracelet, because this has that single chain going up it, so more or less I'll have to punch it through the bottom. So that's how you can kind of tell if you have layers of bands being placed on your pegs, then that would mean that the bottom is facing you, the bottom of the bracelet. So then the front of the bracelet is facing your loom area. And these are just the flowers. Oops. Yikes. Did I place one out of place? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I need one more. Sorry. These are the Talented Kids brand bands. Do you see how stretchy they are? They are the best bead band I've ever used. You can get anything on that band. That is a sneak comment. I'm doing a band review here soon. So last one. Yikes. They're so thin I can't even see it. Ah, jeez. All right, so now we can turn our loom around. Like so. And the first thing we need to do is go ahead and put a cap band on the center peg. Okay. And we want to, oops, geez. There is one thing that I forgot to mention. I mentioned it in the intro because I know I said it and did it during the step, but now that we have our bling bands on, now we can place the cap band. So I apologize for misguiding you on that. I hope you picked up on that in the intro. Two more. There we go. Okay, so we have all of our cap bands on our little starbursts, and then we have our cap band on our center peg down here. And the first step that we need to do is we're just going to loom forward this clear center chain. Okay, so that is the top band under the cap band. Bring it forward. And then this one here, you can just take it and just set your bead around it. Even though it's going to have to get punched through, I just rather have it clean like that, and then when I pull it off the loom, I can go ahead and fix it. So that's a simple step. Or if you have a flat band, I'm sorry, a flatter bead, it won't be that difficult to put it around. It'll just be straightforward looming. Okay, so let's finish that single chain up and we'll meet right. All right, so our next step is to loom up your center two bands. So 1, 2, up into this middle peg here. So it's the second to the last band at the bottom. So that's 1. And then that should be the only band on that peg. Again, I'm going to wrap it around my flower. Okay, so once you get two to the center, we're going to split off and loom out these starbursts. So don't forget, you have 3 bands to go under. So you have a cap band, then you have your beaded band, and I need to pull mine forward to see which band. This one going straight back here is my first, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, good. So it's in a counterclockwise direction. since I went in the clockwise to place them. And then we go to our other one. Again, making sure you go underneath that beaded band. Okay, so once we have those looped out, then we want to hang on one second. Take our next two bands in the starburst. Okay, so we want to go in to this center peg and grab the top band and loom it back to itself. And then take the next one in line. So remember, in this one here, it's kind of opened up for us because we're looming it now, but you have to go through the clear band and your single chain kind of going up the center. There. So that opens it up for your bead if you are using a bead. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we're going to go ahead and loom these out as well. There we go. So then we want to continue our single chain on up through until we come to our next bead. Like so. And then the last thing we want to do is come down and loom out the perimeter. Oops. So a couple of these pegs are loaded up with some bands, so it might be a little bit tight. So it's this peg and this peg are pretty loaded up. Okay, then I'm going to come back down and do the other side. Okay, so then you can go ahead and stop right there. Make sure that you have everything loomed out in this area here. And if you don't see any bands, I like to turn mine if I can get it on camera. If you don't see any bands down in there, then you know you're good to go to the next step. If for any chance, for any reason, you do see any bands left over down there, you can kind of reconfigure now before you get too far. Okay, So now that we are at this small X here, we can go ahead, I'm going to pull you out. We can loom this out. Like that. And then we can go ahead with our border band forward and forward. And then I'm going to stop right there with the border until it's time to do that in our next step. So again, now that you are in the center of your next pattern, we've loomed 2 up to the beaded band, and then we go under the cap band and the beaded band and grab the first band on top to loom out our starburst pattern. You know, if you don't have any 8mm beads, another suggestion, if you only had smaller ones, another suggestion would be to, instead of putting a bead in the center, you could throw a bead in the center of each of the small starbursts. I think that would be really pretty. Or you could put seed beads on each one of these 6 bands and then put them in the center. I think that would be pretty as well. Okay, so now that we are done with these, let's go ahead and loom out the X, large X. So I'm going to push my bead down, try to grab the first band, and then I'm going to go ahead and loom this one out too. Go into the next one, that's going forward, the next one to the left, and then I'm going to loom out the other one in front of it to the border, and then I have this one down here, and then this border one I'm gonna loom that out to the border, and that's it, and my peg is clear. Okay, so we have everything loomed out, and I'm going to go ahead and take my single chain up to the next bead. So that's 1, 2, and then that will be 3. Go around my bead and place it on the peg. And now that I have it up to the center, I can go ahead and loom out the perimeter. Oops, look at that, I forgot that one. Oh well, it's not right. Okay, so then you want to start down at the bottom here and loom out one side of the perimeter around. Oops, I want to stop. You want to stop before the band goes forward. Okay, come back down here. Okay, so now that we have our bands right here for the perimeter stopped, we can go ahead and loom out this X. Okay, and then go ahead and continue one band forward on both sides, and then start all over and repeat. Okay, so you have 3 more circles or patterns to loom. So let's get those loomed up, and then we will meet back here at the bottom to take it off our loom. Okay, so I just have the very last pattern to take off my loom. So every peg I took off with the hook. even though it's a loose design, I don't want to stretch bands if I don't have to. And I was right, the front of the pattern is facing down towards your pegboard. Alright, so I had to push my beads through. If you have to do the same, meaning if you have a one-sided bead, just open up that hole and make sure that your bead is coming through the clear band that it's attached to, and just turn it around like that. And I want the bottom to stay in there. There. It's through the wrong hole. It has to be through that one. There we go. Yeah, it's not as dainty or elegant as I had hoped, and there I made a boo-boo. I forgot to loom that one band there. So I have to fix that. But you want to take your perimeter bands and push them back and push your side starburst through. Like that. And there we have it. So a big thumbs up to MsLoom once again for a really cool, beautiful design. There we go. I hope you enjoyed making this bracelet, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up, and make sure that you do give MsLoom on Instagram a follow if you aren't already, and check out all of her other awesome designs on my channel. And make sure that you hashtag your renditions. We'd love to see them. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.